Nick, absolutely buzzing to welcome you here today to Football Fun Factory HQ for your onboarding day, to welcome you to part of the team as a franchisee at the Football Fun Factory. Firstly, can you tell us where you first heard about or saw the Football Fun Factory?
I use Twitter a lot. I use it really as a coaching resource for my grassroots coaching. Obviously, with your very heavy social media presence, I was aware of the Football Fun Factory through that, and I just sort of monitored it from afar really. It grabbed my attention regularly because of the message, because of the ethos, which is very different to the other stuff I was looking at on there, which is all session planning and that type of thing. So it was always kind of there in the background. I realised you were involved in it quite early on, which gives it an added bit of kudos. And then more recently thought about, okay, maybe this is something I'd like to do.
We've all got to know each other a little bit over the past couple of months before you're sort of coming on board. What's blatantly obvious is you've got a huge passion for football and football coaching, but where did that passion for football come from? What were them early experiences that helped you fall in love with football?
Well, it's interesting because I don't come from a football family really. So my mum, my dad, my stepdad, as I was growing up, had no interest in the sport at all really. In fact, no interest in sport. But when I was quite late into the game, probably 9 or 10, I had no real interest. And then I joined the Cubs. They had a game coming up on the Saturday and they needed a goalkeeper. And I said, all right, well, okay, I'll give it a go. And I wasn't a goalkeeper. And never was there, never have been since. But I just got the bug. And there was a lad playing in that team who went on to play for QPR, a guy called Chris Plummer.
Right, yeah.
And he went to my school. And I always kind of looked up to him. He's a year above me. I thought, I could probably do what he does. I'd like to go out there and do that. And so I started, it just went from there. And it grabbed me the minute I got on a pitch. And in fact, he gave me my first pair of boots. Yeah, and it went from there. And that was it. Once I had the bug, there was no going back.
Can't get away from it. And what were them, obviously played that first game for the Cubs in goal. Did you then go and join a grassroots team and continue being a goalkeeper, more of an outfield player?
Yeah, so now the goalkeeping lasted a couple of weeks, and then joined a local grassroots team in West London where I grew up, and just went from there. Played at school, played county, played at Brentford for a while when they did have their academy many years ago. I know they've got it again now. It became the only thing I wanted to do, and from not really having any involvement in it when I was sort of 8 or 9 to now it became everything and took up all my time.
Was it the dream through them teenage years that you would become a professional footballer?
Yeah, so I was one of those people that whenever the careers advice officer came in, I just said, look, I'm going to play football, I'm going to be a footballer. And of course they always said what they say to everyone. Yeah. Well, you're probably not. And it's probably until I was maybe 16 or 17 I still thought it was what I was going to do. And I had some opportunities and stuff, just like 99% of the population. It never quite happened, but it was the only thing I was interested in, which, looking back, I should have had those other opportunities, those other ideas about what I could do, but it's easy saying that in hindsight, because when I then left college, I was a little bit like, what do I do now?
With that, was it a case of you immediately thought about coaching, or did you fall out of love with the game a little bit because that the dream didn't turn into reality? How was that sort of period?
I had a few years where I played a good level of non-league, and I then wasn't involved again for a long time. I didn't get involved in any coaching, and then really when I had children, that's when I sort of started getting back into it.
But so your kids started playing, you get sucked in to help, then you sort of get that bug, and I get that.
Well, initially, my daughters, they were doing other things, netball and stuff, and so being involved and taking them to games and practices and stuff is where I really got back into thinking I'd like to do this.
Yeah.
And so then I started helping a friend of mine who was coaching at a local grassroots team, and it just sort of, my love for it just sort of developed from there really. And now I coach my boys team, they're under 12.
With your coaching your son's team, I remember I first started coaching, getting sucked in when he was under 6 player, and found it quite hard coaching him, and maybe was a little bit harder on him than I was the other players. Is that something that you found tricky in your sort of career with your friends?
I think it was something I was aware of right from the start.
Yeah.
So I tried hard to actually be aware of it and to counter it, if you like. So it's never become a problem. He's quite a resilient kid as well, and we even had conversations about it even when he was 9 or 10, and I said, look, you might feel like I'm treating you differently, but I'm not meaning to do it, and so on. And he's really mature and good with that. So it hasn't had a negative effect, but the flip side to that is you know, I love not being his coach at times. Like, he plays other sports as well, and I go and watch him playing those sports as a parent, and I get, you know, a real buzz out of that as well.
Yeah, so. Fantastic. And I know, like, the conversations we've had with me, you, Johnny, James, that your ethos is sort of so aligned on terms of with the Football Fun Factory of how you believe children should be coached in them youngest ages. Can you give us sort of a bit of an overview on your ethos of what you believe is right?
Yes, I mean, we could talk about this all day, couldn't we? But I think the system, as far as I see it, is kind of is the wrong way around. And I think even from grassroots, our emphasis is on the best players and where they can go and what they can achieve. And unfortunately, the players that aren't going to necessarily progress in the game can get left behind, and that's where I think there's a gap, and there's a gap in, you know, coaches' knowledge, clubs' knowledge, and a gap in the market as well, which you guys are filling, which is, you know, participation and fun. But at the end of the day, when we're 4 or 5, or, you know, in my case 9 or 10, and we start playing, it's not because we want to be a professional. Exactly. It's because we enjoy doing it and it's fun. And so my ethos really is that is the most important thing. If you're one of the 0.0 whatever that makes it, you're going to make it anyway. Exactly. And you're going to pick up the right path if that's the way you're supposed to go. My concern is the rest, making sure they have fun.
That's brilliantly expressed as well. In terms of your own community, can you tell us a little bit more about where you're going to be running sessions and what the children in them areas have got to look forward to?
Absolutely. So I'm going to be running my sessions in and around Camberley and Surrey. Camberley's right on the border, so I've got Hampshire just there as well, and places like Sandhurst and Crowthorne, which are surround it. And my children all grew up around there. We play around there now in grassroots, so I'm really looking forward to bringing fun and football development to that area.
We're absolutely buzzing. Can't wait for your launch in May, and delighted you're part of our team. Thank you, Nick.
Fantastic, thank you.